Teachers of Reddit, what are some of the weirdest things you've confiscated from a student? A Ziploc bag of pink Crayola crayons that he sliced perfectly into small discs with a razor blade. He was trying to market them in the hallways as hallucinogenic pills. Small Tupperware container of swamp water. Why was it confiscated? He was trying to put it on the girls next to him. Plus he could only read on a second grade level in the 6th grade, so he needed to be paying attention, bless his heart. A pencil with a bunch of glued-on dick-shaped confetti. Till there's dick-shaped confetti. You've obviously never seen a bachelorette party. Everything you can possibly imagine comes in dick shape. A taxidermied kookaburra. She'd taught herself how to do it from books. It was not done well. Edit: just to clarify, apparently it was dead, having been hit by a car when she found it. Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree. Very dead on the road was he. Student was trying to stick a large suction cup dildo like the ones you use in the shower to another student's locker. He actually asked what the problem was. I had a similar experience after falling asleep in class one day and waking up to my teacher yelling at my friend for handcuffing me to my desk with bright red sex cuffs. She was arguing back like it was a completely normal thing to do. As a former high school student, I can confirm that's a perfectly normal thing to do, and if someone in my school got their hands on sex cuffs, they would be used like that. A white lacy thong from a kindergartner. She was wearing it on her head. Reminds me of that one Vine. Hey Jason, what's on your face? A sticker? A vitamin B12 vape pen. Didn't know they existed. It was a 9-year-old. In class. Now watch the kids vaping e-cigs get shamed for not smoking a vitamin vape. That's why they exist. Your lungs don't absorb B12, but your brain is adept at absorbing marketing wank. Shame on anyone who doesn't vape their 5 a day though. A sugar glider. Kept hearing a high-pitched squeak in class. Noticed she had a small animal in her jacket pocket when it decided to poke its head out. A student brought one of these to my class. I teach college, so that was fun and I was super excited, and she let me hold it. The students were busy doing some group work, and when they were just about done I went to hand it back to her. It then proceeded to leap down the front of my shirt and attach itself to my bra. So now I'm supposed to be lecturing again, but this girl's sugar glider is not only sitting in my cleavage, but running around under my shirt. More than half the class had no idea why I was distracted, or why I shoved my hand down between my boobs until I finally got the little guy out. The following year a different student's hedgehog peed on me. What kind of college do you work at? I only ever saw puppers in class. It's a state university. It's my classroom. If somebody mentions that they have a sugar glider or a therapy hedgehog, you bet your ass I'm going to tell them to bring it in. Professor Cool as Fuck, checking in. I teach little ones, so nothing nearly as risque as some of the others in this thread. I've confiscated handcuffs, a wrench, baby bottles, and a variety of bugs and small animals the kiddos caught out at recess. A colleague confiscated an adult movie from a 5-year-old. The kid didn't know what it was, didn't even know that it was a videotape, or anything about it. It just looked cool, the tape itself. He didn't know of the content. Didn't confiscate anything, but I'm a sub, and a few weeks ago, I was at a rough school and I heard one kid whisper to another kid, "Hey, I'd like to place an order." Shit. So, I'm keeping an eye on him, and then another kid says, "Oh yeah, I need some too." I ask them what they're doing. The kid taking the order says pizza. Sure. Anyways, I continue to eavesdrop. At one point, he's on his iPad and I sneak behind him to see what he's looking at. He is straight up on the Domino's website. I guess he had just gotten a job there and was using his discount or something, which I'm pretty sure his boss wouldn't be happy with, but it wasn't what I thought it was. A raccoon penis toothpick. He kept poking other kids with it. Sigh. What? Most mammals have bones in their penis. Look up walrus if you want to be amazed. So they killed a coon, cut its cock, carved the bone. Sorry, I couldn't think of a C word for bones. Edit guys, thanks for all the replies. I know it's baculum, just didn't think it would help up. Also thanks for fixing my poor attempted doggerel, everyone. I had to confiscate an 11th grader's laptop because she was going to mature themed chat rooms during class. Specifically ones for married men looking to chat with young girls. Yeah. Then, after she wasn't allowed to bring her laptop or phone to school anymore, she later got banned from school Chromebooks for doing it again. She was not very bright. When teaching pre-K I had to confiscate a grenade. There was very serious confusion and terror when I saw him and told my aide that Timmy is holding a grenade. No, not a toy. Timmy. Name confidential. What do you have there, buddy? He tells me excitedly that it's a grenade. I asked him where he got it and he said he found it in the trees by his house. You know, as you do in Midwest America, just find grenades in the trees. I made him give it to me immediately. It turned out to be hollowed out and I believe it was a World War II pineapple grenade. His mom called maybe 4 hours later to tell us, hey, I forgot to mention Timmy wanted to bring his grenade to school. Y'all can just put it in his cubby. She also explained that he just found it. I still can't believe that happened. How do you just find a grenade? Why do you let your child bring it to school? So many other questions. It wasn't exactly a confiscation. Some of my students thought it would be a good idea to bring me 2 chickens. 2 live chickens. They knew my daughter had a pet duck that had recently died, so this was their idea to help us get past the grief. I had to keep them in a carrier in my classroom closet in the dark just so they would be quiet. The chickens, not the kids. By the end of the day I found a kid with a grandmother that had a farm. She took the chickens home. Camp counselor here. We have permission to go through bags to confiscate prohibited items like food and electronics and knives. One girl had a Tupperware full of what looked like the oldest peanut butter imaginable smeared all over the Tupperware. I brought it to my coworkers, and we all tried to smell it, but it smelled different to all of us. Literally no clue what this shit was. Asked the girl about it one day and she goes that's my plant, like it's obvious. Apparently it was some kind of fungus or algae to apply to sunburns. It's in the woods. They can't keep food on them because of bears and other wildlife. We aren't starving them, I promise. Not confiscated but actually given as a gift. A bag of her hair. A bag of every strand of hair she's had cut since birth. That's probably the oddest one here, honestly. It was definitely the weirdest thing I've ever received as a gift. She was so excited about it, too. I knew the mom well, so I messaged her asking if she had meant to give that to me. Apparently, she had stolen it from her keepsake box. I happily returned it. Not gagging over it was the hardest thing ever, especially because I was newly pregnant and had awful morning sickness. Not a teacher but a kid brought a human skull to school. I think the teacher just had a conversation with him about it. To answer some questions, the skull was real. The kid was a baddie. His folks were more likely meth cooks than doctors. It didn't get donated. The school in question was near a rural mountain area where a lot of people lived who wanted to be left alone. The provenance of the skull was, at the most conservative, dubious. My father took a cleaver off a student. My dad was doing lunch duty and saw the kid open his jacket and motion his buddies to have a look. Turns out there was going to be a fight after school. My dad knew the kid and asked him to step into the hallway. He got the cleaver off the kid and took him to the office. I'm not sure what his punishment was, but pre-Columbine, so who knows. In 7th grade I accidentally brought a hunting knife to school. I'd been playing with it at home, flipping it and trying to catch it by the handle. I was doing this while it was fastened in a sheath, so no danger or anything. Well, I missed and dropped it. Couldn't find where it went and figured I'd just find it later. Well, I forgot about it. Fast forward about a week. It's the end of the day and I'm cleaning out my backpack at school. Found the knife at the bottom of the bag. Yeah, I'd been carrying the thing to and from school for a week and didn't know. I just shoved it back into the bag before anyone saw and then took it out once I got home. So lucky I didn't get caught with it. I did the same once, except this was in England and the knife was a banana and I'd lost it for over a month. The naked lady booby lighter. Kid was 7th or 8th grade in an alternative school setting. He was always sneaking stuff in his pockets and getting it taken up. We are walking to lunch and my assistant stops suddenly. He comes back with a metal naked woman torso in his hand. You could press one boob and the flame came out of the other. It was fantastic. It was super popular in the office for the few days until mom came to pick it up. She was really glad to get family heirloom back. When I was in junior high, 7th and 8th grade, I sold the naked lady booby ink pen. While you're writing, she had clothes on, but turn it upside down and her clothes would come off. I could buy a box of a dozen for $2 and I was selling them for $1 EA. Made a mint. A bottle of passion fruit lube brought in by a 4-year-old, making all her friends smell her fruity hand cream. Poor mama must have had a long night and mixed up her eczema cream. A brick decorated with hentai in the locker of a 14-year-old boy. He was very different, that kid. Not a confiscation, but when my 4 5-year-olds were getting changed for PE, a little girl opened their bag and out fell a bunch of very sexy lingerie. 10 minutes later at the window I have a very red mum with the correct kit in hand saying she mixed up the dry cleaning with the daughter's PE kit. I pretended I hadn't seen. Bonus edit: when I asked him why he brought it in, he said for the skulls of my enemies. He didn't have friends, but not because he was odd, even the odd kids hated his guts, but because he was horrible and obnoxious to everyone. Worked on his social skills with him for a long time and allowed him to run a manga club in my classroom Friday lunch times whilst I was in there. He made friends in the end and had a much nicer life since that club. He's a happy 18-year-old now with a girlfriend and kid. Having a kid at 16 was the normal in the deprived area, so him having a family, his own place and a job he enjoys is good. He messages me on Facebook every now and then to check in and tell me how his life is. Just because that's not happiness to some of you, please do not shit on his. A can of Axe. Only because he sprayed another student with it. And to be fair to the student doing the spraying, the other student had gym class the previous period, and had not changed out or showered. He did smell, in the words of the Axe spraying student, like a dead rotting moose. But after the spraying he smelled like a dead rotting moose that had been sprayed with Axe body spray. It was not an improvement. This happened in the classroom where someone once optimistically hung up a green apple scented Wunderbaum. That also did not help. Student here. Not really confiscated, but it was pretty funny. This happened back in year 7 aged 10 to 11. One of my friend named Sam regularly printed off pictures of attractive women in Sonic. He would take them home and probably bust a nut to them at the age of 10. Anyway, it was lunchtime, so me and my friends went to the computer room. Sam decided to use this time to print off a picture of a very busy woman wearing a bikini. By the way, this classroom was very open. I do not know how he managed to not get caught. Turns out the assistant principal was standing next to the printer and noticed the picture. I remember we were quietly laughing and telling Sam he is so fucked. She held up the picture in front of the room and asked who printed the pic off. Everyone in the room began to snicker to the point where she too tried to hold back a laugh. No one claimed responsibility, but eventually a new rule was put up. Those who print off pictures of a sexual nature and are caught would have to do reception duty. Sam survived that event. Sadly, he disappeared in year 8. Never to be seen by me or my friends. This was about 6 to 7 years ago. When I was in middle school we were forbidden to take writing utensils into the bathrooms because of a graffiti issue, so of course we couldn't take in our bags. Lucky me realized I had started my period in the middle of history. I very sneakily reached my hand in my bag, grabbed a tampon, and placed it in my pocket. I walked to the back of the room to ask the teacher to go to the restroom and he laughed and said, "I saw you reaching in your bag. Hand over the marker and he'll let you go." After a moment of silence I pull out the tampon and place it in his outstretched hand. He stares at it for a second before handing it back and quickly motioning towards the door. I'll never forget his face. Lol. Teacher here. I confiscated weed during my first year of teaching, which, admittedly, isn't too terribly odd. The odd part was that it was in an old pill bottle with the words, "weed. For use by student's name," and then, under that, it was signed by his mom. We clearly brought the mom in to pick him up / deal with the paperwork and the police, and she did confirm that she gave him the weed to cool him down during the school day. She was selling the kids actual medication on the side and explained to us, the school officials and the officer, that weed basically did the same thing as his drugs, so, like, whatever. It was one of the most surreal moments of my life because she just couldn't understand what she had done wrong or why the officer was arresting her. When I was in Catholic high school I had a book on witchcraft confiscated from me. Not because it was about witchcraft but because I was reading it during study hall and the teacher informed me, and a few others, that non-school books couldn't be read during study hall. My wife, a teacher, a few years ago she confiscated a volunteer fire department pager from a 14-year-old who had just signed up with his local VFD. Good for him, of course. But he had no need for the thing during the day, and it was the kind of pager that didn't just beep but could play radio traffic. Had a voice feature. So randomly throughout the day you'd hear this thing shriek followed by a dispatcher. Refused to turn it off. Refused to stop bringing it to school. He was 14. He wasn't ever going to leave school for a fire emergency. He had no need for it there. Still, he dug in his heels that he needed it and that he was somehow legally entitled to it. Threatened me wife that the fire police were going to come and arrest her for her legal seizure of official equipment. In reality, he got some serious counseling from school and parents, and the fire department took away his pager until he got older. For those not in the know, in my state, the fire police are a unit within I believe only volunteer fire departments. Their primary job is to direct traffic during emergencies. They have super limited peace officer authority to allow them to direct traffic. I suppose in a weird situation where a person refused to stay back, one of these folks could arrest them. In reality, fire police are very often the volunteer firefighters who cannot, often for physical reasons, actually fight fires. They don't come charging into schools to arrest people for confiscating pagers from children. Also, and I cannot emphasize this enough, except in very rare exceptions, volunteer fire companies are privately incorporated entities that contract with a municipality to provide fire service. They are very rarely government agencies themselves. So there is no you stole government property at play here. Please subscribe and make me a happy Wojak, because right now, I am very sad. I want 10 subscribers and I will bring you daily content.